Hello Leo, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for January for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you an overview of what you can expect, but please stay with me because then I'll dive deep and give you in forensic detail an analysis of all the key influences that you can expect. So on the screen now you can see your chart wheel, and this shows a collection of energy in the sign of Capricorn, which is earthy, and for you it's house 6. This is very much about practicalities. So as you burst into 22, if you're setting yourself some New Year's resolutions around health, fitness and diet, it really wouldn't be a surprise. But you can also see in house 5 there is the Moon and Mars very close together. That's going to give you a lot of passion this month and this year. And the point between the Moon in Sagittarius and the Sun in Capricorn is actually in Sagittarius. So your creativity, the part of you that likes to make things enjoyable, is going to work very well with any practical changes you want to make. So it's form and function as you make your way into 22. Now Mercury, the planet of communication, moves into your sector of relating on day 2. Does go retrograde on the 14th. You do have Saturn, the planet of restriction, still here, and it is still squaring with Uranus like last year in your sector of work and also of ambition. But talking of Uranus, although that could create a little bit of strain around some interpersonal relationships, possibly of a professional kind, actually Uranus forges a marvellous thing with the Sun, and that all comes into play on the new moon of the 2nd. So over the next month, if you want to change how you work or where you work or retrain, as long as you go about things imaginatively, you have an awesome opportunity to make progress. So that's the big strands. If you'd like to know more, please stay with me. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. And if you've yet to get your year 2022 personal forecast based on your time, date and place of birth, please see the link beneath this video. You can get 30% off and a character analysis. If you order in the last days of 21, I'll give you the rest of that year free. If you order later in January, don't worry, I will give you 12 full months from the time of your order. So Leo, as you make your way into this new month, that gathering of energy in the 6th house, this is the area that's very much to do with duty, efficiency, sacrifice, where we assist others. If you're someone who enjoys working in the service sector, you can really flourish on the back of this set of influences. But in this area, we also have Venus, which is in retrograde, and Mercury, although it's in Capricorn, is actually starting its shadow period before the retrograde begins in the sign of Aquarius on the 14th. So if you have got any appointments that you need to go to, just be aware, particularly with Mercury returning to Capricorn later in January, that there could be some practical strands that prove a little niggly. So flexibility and preparing for those sudden changes is going to help you to deal with those. But Venus in your practical area is linking excellently with Neptune in the area that's very much to do with devotion. So this is a magical link in a romantic chart natally, but how will it play out for you? Well, it is possible that someone you encounter through work can creep up on your senses. It's also possible that you can use your imagination to improve your financial situation. Now, because Jupiter, the planet of growth, has moved right at the end of last year into your 8th house to join up with Neptune, that's going to be lucky for you this year in terms of your longer term financial prospects. But it's not going to be in Pisces all the year. It is going to hop into Aries and then come back into Pisces. So there could be a business scheme that you get going, it expands, but then may need a little bit of rethinking, but generally a very positive portent for you. Also, on the back of the new moon on the 2nd, we do have the link between Uranus and the Sun. And if you can be very open-minded in your approach about the type of roles you can do, about adapting past skills or experiences in a new way to fit the changing world we live in, which is, obviously altering at such a rate of knots. So it could be to do with technology, for example, that you find yourself becoming a little bit more open-minded, particularly if you have been a bit resistant to this kind of stuff in the past. Now, because there is a new moon on the 2nd, and that provides a backdrop of energy over the next month, then that's a great opportunity for you to thrive. But what might blight that a little bit? Well, I think Mercury moving into Aquarius is just saying that your lines of communication to others need to stay crystal clear, particularly because Saturn in Aquarius, your 7th house of relating, is clashing with Uranus. Perhaps some of the things you want to do fresh, someone close to you is going to resist because they want to keep it as it is. Perhaps it's you who's being more conservative and not quite finding the spark to embrace new possibilities quite as quickly as you could. Someone could prove to be a real support to you, or a life coach. Even a partnership can benefit from Mercury moving into Aquarius, but it needs to be someone who you respect, because otherwise, if they try to overcoach you, that can get your hackles up a little bit. So it needs to be someone who gives you the space to make your own decisions, essentially. Now, as the month goes on, the Sun and Pluto do merge at the start of week 2. That's very, very powerful. If there's something you physically want to change in your world, if it is getting fundamentally fitter, that would be very motivating. The problem is that the full moon, which occurs on the 17th, is very psychological. And if you don't feel quite confident enough to make some changes, or the physical changes you're making are you're not taking into account enough your emotional or spiritual needs, they could fall over. You could be so precise and committed with the Sun and Pluto in the 6th house that you stop seeing the big picture. So important on that full moon not to forget the more sensitive and vulnerable sides of your nature, particularly with Mercury then in retrograde in your sector of related. And anyone that you're not quite so comfortable with can almost seem to sense it. And of course, what's important to Leos, you love to be loved, but then everybody likes to be loved. What's really important for you is to be respected. Obviously, if that then goes to admiration and then affection, that's the total package. But you could find out that there's some people around you who are a bit nitpicky, and it may be at work that you have to watch out for some work-based politics. Fortunately, the Sun moving on the 20th can give you the wherewithal to push back, set your boundaries, be a bit more robust to protect yourself. And your physical vitality can improve from the 24th when Mars moves into Capricorn, because it loves being there. It's exalted here, and this can give you a lot more stamina to deal with some of the stresses and strains that might be showing. Now, Venus and Uranus are forging a delightful link in the last couple of weeks of this month. Venus is still ultra practical for you at this stage, and Uranus is still, in your sector of work. But hey, might there be someone that you encounter at work completely unexpectedly that you're thinking, do you know, I really like them, and it may not be because either of you are actually trying to be in any way sort of flirty. It just may happen. Just some kind of connection can be quite magical for you towards the end of this month. So you have the wonderful playfulness and charisma that comes from the energy of Sagittarius at the start of this month. But I do feel your chart is pretty practical with the interactions between the 6th and the 10th houses. The 10th house being where Uranus is. The North Node also moves into this area on the 18th, meaning that you're going to have to think very carefully about your role in life over the next 18 months. So I think Jupiter moving into the 8th can be good for your finances, but relationships need to be working sweetly. And if you're resisting change, or someone close to you is, that could be a bit of a pinch point, and do watch out for those office politics. I wish you a great January, a very happy year 2022, and thank you so much for joining me.